All right, let's go to Lubbock. We've discussed this quite a bit. A lot of you who watch us are either Baylor and or Texas Tech fans. There's been a lot of debate, trash talking, et cetera, the good things in college football. And Baylor in Lubbock. Paul Catalina, how can Baylor win this game?
By being completely opposite of who they've been on defense for the majority of the year and having some, pass rush success and stopping big plays in the pass game. I mean, that's going to be the key. Probably also having some, that RVO coming back and giving Richard Reese the ball 30 times, giving Quaylon Jones the ball probably 12 times, keeping it on the ground most of the time, running clock so that Texas Tech has less opportunities, and not turning the ball over. It's just tough for me to see this defense all of a sudden finding an identity. That's why I picked Texas Tech on the site. That's why I'll pick them later on in our picks. I just don't see it from the defense. The offense doesn't give me many qualms other than turning the ball over. Yeah, they need some better playmakers on the outside, and they need to do those things, but they've managed to score points in spite of all that this year. They just need to, continue, like when they're on a roll on offense, stepping on somebody's throat, and on defense, make some freaking stops.
How can they win this game? Just don't shoot themselves in the foot constantly, like they've been prone to do pretty much all year long. Don't let the road atmosphere overwhelm you like they did against BYU. I think you just learn from your lessons throughout this season and avoid those mistakes, and you're going to be in any game against pretty much anybody that you play. I just think that the difference is that I don't have faith in them to do just all of that. I think that they're probably more talented overall than Tech. I think that they're pretty much eye to eye in any category you want to go to, and can match up in pretty much every way. I don't think there's any just significant negative category for them, but I think it all boils down to where this game is, when it is, and the fact that Baylor, whether this is, about the road or home or whatever, I know that Dave Aranda said, we're not really looking at this as a road game. They're trying to just kind of change the mentality of that it's more about us. And I think if they can do that and change how they themselves execute, then, yeah, they're going to have a chance in every game, like I said. But I just, again, don't have the faith in them to do that, especially given what they're going to be walking into. I don't know that they hyperventilate, but I do think that it affects the game, the crowd, and the nighttime and all of those different types of things.
The Brigham Young game on the road against Provo, that game was a double overtime game, had a chance, and so did Brigham Young in regulation. They had special teams issues, so did Brigham Young, and they couldn't close a drive, could have sealed the game in overtime. And they didn't react well there, and we heard Dave Aranda then talk about the eyes, the big eyes, because they were a little bit overwhelmed. And then they maybe fooled most people, me, when they went into Ames, and now we know Ohio State's struggling. And they played a really, really good game, got a couple of breaks early, took advantage of it. But then the Morgantown game is in my head more than the other two I even mentioned.
The Morgantown game is certainly in my head when it comes to this, because Baylor historically on the road is just not great. I know there's a couple years in there where you can shoot holes in it, but that's been the best years in their history. This is not one of the best years in their history. This is going to be in the middle of the pack in their history when they look back on the warm things. Unless they just go on a tear to end the season and go 9-3, then people will change their minds. But at 4-3 right now, the biggest thing for me has been, losing to one of the best teams, Oklahoma State, and really having a claw back in that one. Shooting yourself in the foot and not being as intense as a BYU team we now know to be very average on the road in Provo, and then going to Morgantown, a team that is below average in West Virginia, really, and losing a game you were in complete control of. So, and then almost losing a game to Kansas that you could have been up 35-3.5 or 31-3.5 if it's two incomplete passes instead of an incomplete pass drop in the end zone and an interception right after that. So that's kind of the team right here. Baylor's been average. They've been slightly above it now at 4-3, but they find a way to pull their good at,
How many times have you in a group text with the three of us, have you said, they're back to being average, or this team is just average?
They're just average, and average teams balance out bad things with good things, and that's kind of what they've done. And they don't need to go into a place that's been historically very hard for them to win on the road and do that again. They've got to be well above average to beat Texas Tech, a team that is also just slightly above average, but they're great at home. So that's where the kind of rub comes to me here.
So Baylor in Lubbock, and it's Texas Tech at home. And I think you wonder Who of these two teams or either one of these teams capable, if in fact whoever wins, of going on a run where they win 3 of the last 4 or whatever the number is left on their schedule, 4 or 5 of the last 6? Are they capable of that? Is that one of them? And again, in this conference, I'm not so sure anyone
I think they both are, but again, you got to get super hot and super consistent, which both of these teams have not been either or this year.
All right.